People say to me, have mercy. Have mercy.
This is Tony James. We are at the Lariato Ranch. This is the good, the bad, and the wrestling, a Tony James podcast. And as always, when the podcast starts, that's right, the bells of justice are ringing. We've got an interesting situation here today. I've got the Nordic Nightmare, Bjorn.
Long live Bjorn.
That's right. And I needed backup on this one. I've got the man from the center of the earth, Jimmy Fahrenheit, in the studio with us as well.
That's what's up, man. The king of swole.
That's right. So we figured we're bringing in the big man, Bjorn. It'd probably take two of us to take care of Bjorn today. Podcast-wise, we're all currently friendly. Am I right?
Yes.
We got to peel back that onion.
There you go, but no crying today. So we're going to jump right into it here. Bjorn, let's dig into Bjorn a little bit. How long have you been on the wrestling scene, Bjorn?
I have been a lifelong fan as far as active wrestler. I've been in it about 4.5, 5 years now.
Okay. So what influenced you? What really got Bjorn moving when you, what decade did you come in watching wrestling? Who did you like? What got you going?
I started watching as a kid during the 90s, but I'm the youngest in my family. I come from a big family. All of us enjoy wrestling, enjoy the violence, and enjoy the show that it puts on. So I had been watching 80s and 90s growing up. Took a break out of it during the early 2000s, came back into the much larger wrestling scene, and then decided to dig into it myself. The thing that makes me love wrestling and want to be a part of wrestling are the people that change the atmosphere around it.
Absolutely.
When they walk through the curtain, you know everything's different about them, about what you're about to see in that ring. And that's what I like to bring to the ring.
Absolutely. Jimmy, you were talking about that last time we got together that, and I think Chris even mentioned this, we quoted Bruce Pritchard that once the guy gets to the ring, then the match had to start and it was over. You were talking about the difference between the guys that come out and do everything that everybody else does, and then the uniqueness of that. Am I right?
Yeah, absolutely. You want people to remember you when you walk to that ring. And like I said in the last one, there's so many guys that just do the exact same thing. By the end of the show, everybody's like, they're like, do you remember match 2 or you remember match 3? And they're like, I don't even remember who that guy was.
Right.
You know, they know in the PWA, they see the guy with the bell, the guy with the bone, and the guy with the top hat on. They're like, oh yeah, that. At least they know who those dudes are.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely. So when you were watching and getting into it, and did you have a particular wrestler that maybe currently you might not put your style after, but just someone that brought you in that you thought this is a guy or a girl that I have to consistently watch because there's just something about them?
The wrestler that I was just hands down put above everyone else when I was younger was Mick Foley, actually.
I was gonna say that, man. I was like, bro, I bet it's Mick Foley.
What made you think it was Mick Foley?
It's just the way he moves around in the ring, man.
Okay.
Like, I was just like, I get to just see him diving off the apron, doing elbow drops, and I don't know. I was just like, I knew he was gonna say that.
That's I never would have thought that.
Really?
Yep. But once again, when I meet guys, I put in.
It's the hair.
I put them into categories that I'm able to connect with. So I know when we've spoke before, I've always mentioned Bam Bam Bigelow, and that type of just big guys that can move and are deceptive. You wouldn't think, But now that you mentioned Mick Foley, right, I'm automatically going to Cactus Jack. That, I get that. I mean, you definitely have that style too, even though you're not always doing the hardcore stuff.
Yeah.
When you need to do that, you're really good at it. So and it means something, right?
Exactly.
So okay, that's cool. That's cool. Any particular matches or anything that he did that?
So the two that stick out the most to me is the WCW feud with Vader.
Ooh, yes.
And the WWF feud with Undertaker.
Okay.
When he first got there.
I'm so glad you mentioned WCW because, of course, growing up through that time and watching that stuff when he came on the scene, he had they had that. Did he have a match? Was it with Terry Funk or was it with Van Hammer when they were out in the stalls and that horse kicked him?
Oh, yeah. I think it was Terry.
Okay. And then him I think he wrestled Mil Mascaras at a pay-per-view, and he did that elbow off the apron, I think, for the first time. Mm-hmm. And, of course, Mil Mascaras moved because that's what he does. And he took that solid bump.
Right on the concrete.
Right on the concrete. The only other bump, and I gave him props for that, and I wasn't a Cactus Jack fan. Another guy I'm not a fan of, Shawn Michaels, and I brought this up because Jimmy's here, just to go with the bump scenario. I would say if I had a favorite match, Shawn Michaels, getting off topic just a tad, it's the ladder match at SummerSlam after WrestleMania with Razor, when he's in the aqua blue tights.
Yeah.
And when I watched that, because I went back and researched my Shawn Michaels, the bump he takes when he suplexes him out of the ring, and Shawn lands on the guardrail. Mm-hmm. And then later in the match, when he climbs up to the top, the ladder falls over, and it crotches him, and he's like, it's a legit, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I give him all the Shawn Michaels, those two bumps alone, I thought, good Lord, the match was awesome. But growing up, anytime a guy went to suplex someone out of the ring, it never happened. Never happened. And then when it started to happen, they always landed feet first.
Right. Yeah.
He was the first guy to take a true suplex bump coming out of the ring. Mm-hmm. That was crazy. Anyway, I just wanted to get my props in on you. How do you feel about that, Jimmy?
I feel pretty good.
So you cut you, and Vader would be another one I would put with you.
He's been a huge inspiration for me. Just on.
Hey, real quick, didn't Vader knock Cactus Jack's ear off?
No, I thought that was that when his head went through the rope.
Yeah.
Was it a Vader match?
Well, yeah,
was it?
But I thought. I might need to go look this up, but I thought he did that. He did that spot where he gets his head stuck between the ropes, and I think the ropes were. If you watch it, the ref goes and actually helps him get out because the ropes were too tight. He was actually getting choked out. And I guess he ripped his ear like 90% off.
Yes.
And then you watch Vader punches him in the face, and you see the ear just fall in the footage, and the ref picks it up and puts it in his pocket.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I am not.
Vader punched his ear off, bro.
I'm not many can say
we're
they've done.
Right.
We're gonna look this up. It's pretty sick looking.
We need to get a hold of that because once again, I'm not a Cactus Jack guy. I just know he lost his ear. However, if that is the case, comeuppance came in 1990 when Stan Hansen knocked Vader's eye out.
Oh, with that bull rope?
No, it was a punch.
Oh no, the bull.
It was in Tokyo. It was in the Tokyo Dome. And they were going at it, and Stan had a unique way of throwing a punch, which 99% of the time it was stiff and it hit. Because he always said, well, I'm nearsighted and I don't have my glasses on. And that's why I just throw a clothesline. But he nails him. I have a picture of it. And it's it's not hanging from the optical nerve, but it's out.
It's out, yeah.
It's on the other side of the lids. And he takes off his mask, shoves it back in, and they just keep going to town. So, eyes, ears, nose, teeth, you name it, it's coming in, it's coming out. You're going to lose it. So getting back to Bjorn here. So Cactus Jack, those two feuds were great. So, you're watching that, you're getting into it. At what point did you decide, I think I want to try this, I want to crawl in the ring?
Probably it was around 2016. I kept watching old wrestling, and I kept feeling like there wasn't anyone that I wanted to see on there. And you got to be the change you want to see in the
There
world.
you go.
I figured I needed to be in that ring, making my move and taking my claim and grabbing all the gold that I can.
There you go. I like that comment. I think everybody goes through, whether taking a break from watching it or just feeling I want to watch it. I went through a huge period where I watched it, but I'm like, why am I going to watch it? I was finding time to tune in. Like, what am I tuning in for? And what did it for me was the NXT roster. When Finn Balor, I caught wind of him, the Prince Devitt thing, the movement. There was a documentary out, and I actually caught some stuff on YouTube, and then this Bullet Club stuff really took off.
Yeah.
And then, of course, I'm not as connected, and then I find out that he's in NXT, and I'm like, this is awesome. And I started watching NXT, and he opened the door for the revival, and that whole roster. And then I have to watch NXT. I have to watch this stuff. I went out and bought the DVDs. I started going back and looking at the indie stuff of these guys, and that's what brought me back. And I believe I had already started my in-ring career at that time. And knowing I'm not going to do that stuff in the ring, even if I can. It just doesn't fit what I'm trying to progress. Because going to your comment, I want to see something that I'm not seeing in the indie market. What do you think, Jimmy? Did you have a particular time like that?
Oh, where I kind of
where you were like in and out.
Fell out of it. I know this is me just being a Shawn Michaels mark. But after Shawn Michaels retired, I kind of held on for a few more months after that, and then I kind of just you get busy. I don't have time to watch it. And then I think I started rewatching it in like 2014 and 15.
Okay.
And I'm trying to remember what swooped me back up into it.
Isn't that interesting?
Because I was gonna say because don't get me wrong, I was watching Finn Balor and Shinsuke and all that stuff that was going on. I was all about
the Japan stuff, because New Japan actually, you could see them on. I'm trying to think what it was. If it was Vice or there was a channel that you could get New Japan. And I started watching that. I wasn't watching Raw. I wasn't watching that stuff. And I was like, this is awesome. What I think is interesting, pardon me, we all about the same timeline got bored and came back.
Yeah.
Or you know what I'm saying? In that 14, 15, 16, if you look at wrestling's landscape then, I thought it had revived it.
Because I can't even think of anything that happened from 2010 to 2015.
No.
I just feel like Cena was on top, I think. I'm assuming.
I thought they were overdoing the nostalgic piece by bringing legends back. I even, and I'm a legend, I love the legends, but I thought it's time to move on.
That was about the time Vader had his last match.
Yeah. And it was just like, you know what? I get it. That's run its course.
And I think one of the other things was when they brought, I know women's wrestling's been around for a while, but when they first brought in like Becky and Charlotte and Sasha Banks, so I was like, oh, cool, we're actually getting like really good matches.
And it's
Divas belt.
And I'm a guy.
The Divas went away.
And I'm a guy, but the TNA, I got tired of seeing TNA on TV.
Yeah.
Because at some point you're like, if you're not going to show it, then move on.
Yeah.
Right? So let's see wrestling. I tune in for wrestling. Guys who want to see that other stuff, they have so many outlets to watch stuff without the wrestling. So I'm with you. I finally felt that women were getting their opportunity to wrestle.
You were actually getting a match with holds with a story instead of 2005 ECW Kelly appearing.
Right, yeah. And I'm a huge Charlotte fan. I love Charlotte. And I like Tessa Blanchard and Santana Garrett. Those would be my three big ones. So yeah, I definitely agree. It was about time that the landscape changed. Hey, before we continue with our landscape here at The Good, the Bad, and the Wrestling, a Tony James podcast, we're going to take a brief break. However, don't forget, if you're listening to this on Spotify, click the follow button. If you want to leave comments, please do so. And don't forget, we're over on YouTube as well, so please subscribe. And then one last little piece of info for you. Don't forget to go over to Facebook to Outlaw Tony James. We're always posting new things. And if you're wondering, when are we going to see these guys in the ring? Well, you got to find out by going to those mediums and checking it out. We'll be right back with the good, the bad, and the wrestling. Hey, you want to get in shape? You want to stay in shape? Where am I going to go? Well, I've got a place for you. It's Southpaw Boxing Club in Hilliard, Ohio. All you have to do is check them out on Facebook. They're there. They're going to get you in shape. They're going to take care of you. And my main man, Eric Asher, owner, operator, and trainer, is going to do you right. And he's going to make you right. And he's going to keep you right. That's Southpaw Boxing Club. Check it out. Hey, we're back. The good, the bad, and the wrestling of Tony James podcast. Once again, we're on Spotify, YouTube, and Facebook. Check us out, follow, and subscribe. So we've been talking about the origins and influence of Bjorn. We're talking about how Vader, Cactus Jack, those matches. So you get into the ring and you start your career. And we kind of talked about this in our last episode with Jimmy, one of our last episodes with Jimmy. You've definitely evolved from when, and I know people are probably saying, well, duh, people do evolve. I disagree. Whether they're on the big show or they're doing independent wrestling, some guys don't know how to evolve.
Yeah.
They don't know how to adjust, adapt. There are guys currently who feel they are big name independents that when you watch their match now, it's the same thing they did 5 years ago. The only thing that's saving them is that they might be doing that match in different spots so nobody sees it. But when you're doing the same thing in front of the same crowd, that's the quickest way to kill your character and kill what you're doing.
Yeah.
You've done a real nice job of keeping it fresh and adding and taking away. And so what's your thought process when you reflect back from when you started to currently?
So when I first started, I think I really just thought I need to get in the ring, throw some haymakers, some clotheslines, something big, just get the pin quick, and then really the further through the wrestling career I've gotten, you wanna add something that people haven't seen before or something that makes them remember you.
Mm-hmm.
Not everyone does a falling headbutt. Not everyone does a Samoan drop, but I guarantee you they'll remember seeing me do it.
Right.
And
I love that headbutt, man.
Yeah.
I think the best thing about it is I've got this thick skull, so it doesn't really matter where I hit it, it's going to hurt.
Mm-hmm.
But I like bringing that intensity into it and trying to challenge myself with learning new things, learning new holds, learning new moves, trying to improve my speed, my reaction, watching my old videos just so I can see what else can I do from here, what can I string together, what can I piece together, what one of the best things that I enjoy doing before I have a match with someone is if I've already wrestled them, watch those matches.
Yes.
So that I can know how to counter them.
Mm-hmm.
What is missing from their arsenal that I can take advantage of. And I think when you take that time, when you are trying to build that, when you're trying to take this in the most competitive fight, you want to evolve with it. You want to bring something people don't expect.
I like the fact, two things, because if anybody's ever been around me, whether it's in training or talking evolution, I'm all about tape.
Mm-hmm.
Watch stuff, watch yourself, watch the front row, watch the reaction. So I love to hear that you're taking it that way. I also like to take my matches, just like you said, just like if you're getting ready for a game, if you're an athlete and you watch your opponent.
Yeah.
To me, I get what we're doing. I'm not stupid, but I'm not going to make it easy. I'm going to watch the guys I'm wrestling, and if they have a weakness, I'm going to expose it.
Absolutely.
That's the spontaneity. That's the real part. I think if you're doing your job right, the real part of the match, going out there and pushing that other guy. Like if I know a guy doesn't like to take certain things, I'm not going to put him in a position where he's not safe. but I'm going to lean on him, and I'm going to push him, and I'm going to make him understand a little bit, and I hope he does that to me. And if he doesn't do his homework, shame on him.
Right.
Right? If he goes, well, I don't know how to wrestle that guy, well, shame on you, because you should.
Yeah.
Because there's always a way you can wrestle a guy, and you can, if you want to be a little stingy with what you do in the ring, like, I don't want to do a lot. Well, I got my stuff I got to get. No. Listen, we can still put on a match. Crowds love big noises. So a body slam, an elbow drop, and then you just selling your character can get over if you know how to do it right. I think the evolution of you, when people first met you, you kicked open the curtain.
I kicked open the curtain.
It opened like a door, fell to the ground, and it was like all this smoke and rubble finally settled, and then you're like, here I am.
Let's go.
And people are like, holy crap, who is this? You take a look right now at guys, and you are definitely a unique case from where you were till now still, I think, and way your presentation has, evolved, the type of matches. You definitely have evolved, and I still think that you've kept it fresh. The one thing, and I know I've told you this before, you don't, in my opinion, you don't want to be kitschy at some point. You don't want to be where you're always brought in because, like, Andre could pull it off, but he could leave and wrestle somewhere else for 3 months and leave. Sometimes as an independent, you don't have that. So if you become a sideshow, like, oh, here comes Bjorn, you're going to get this match, but we get to yell, long live Bjorn, and we get to do this. At some point, people get tired of that.
Yeah.
You know what? Don't you agree?
Yeah.
There's someone that I watched a little bit as a kid that I kind of took some inspiration for the Pride of Sweden from in just a teensy bit, and that's Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
Oh, I'm so glad. I was just thinking of Hacksaw.
I think Hacksaw is someone that was so much better when it was much more than just the hoe, the flag, and the 2x4.
You're on, Bjorn. So Hacksaw Duggan in the early to mid 80s in Mid-South, then is the UWF champ, Northern American champ, I should say. I don't think he held the UWF because that was about 87 when he went to the WWF. He was the man.
Yeah.
At some point, they made him a novelty. They made him a novelty, and he knew that. And he lived with it for a while because he made good money. Mm-hmm. But when he came out, you got the hoe, you got the 2x4, you got the USA, and then he got beat, or he beat whoever. But you just knew there wasn't. It probably wasn't until the Andre storyline that kind of got him out of that, and then he fell back into it. And then he went to WCW and tried to revive it a little bit. Mm-hmm. But I'm with you. When he's on,
he's on.
He's great in the ring. Go back and watch Jim Crockett Senior Memorial Cup #1, 86. He defends the Northern American Heavyweight title against Dirty Dick Slater. That is Jim Duggan wrestling. Jim Duggan wrestling Ted DiBiase in 85 in Mid-South. That is Jim Duggan. Jim Duggan in a tuxedos match against Ted DiBiase. Jim Duggan, it might have been Dick Slater in a coal miners match with the coal miners glove. That's another one. He knows what he's doing. But when you get over-scrubbed and overproduced, that's when you become a novelty to me. Yeah. And we all have to watch it. I think all of us got close to that line.
Because I think you just get kind of comfortable.
Yes.
And it's like, and then you get comfortable, and then you're like, oh yeah, I know what I'm doing.
I know what gets a response.
Yeah, like I know. And and you're like,
And when you're doing well in front of the same crowd, it's so tempting to stay that way.
Yeah.
Which
you don't want to rock the boat. Right,
absolutely. Which will segue this way. Independent wrestling in general. That's the being comfortable where I've got 1 or 2 matches I'll do, and this is what I'll give them. I'm not a fan of that.
I don't want to throw anyone under the bus here. Didn't you tell me once before you talked to someone, they said, well, I got 1, 2, and 3. What do you want?
I've had a couple guys. One guy did that, and I saw where he was coming from. And the reason he did that is because of the quality of guys he was wrestling.
Okay.
So you knew if you got 3, he respected what you were doing.
Right, okay.
If you got 2, he was giving you an opportunity to grow. If you got 1,
Nothing.
he didn't want you doing jack because he knew you didn't know what you were doing. And that was just me paying attention in the locker room, because when he was wrestling, sometimes they were throwing guys that didn't know what they were doing because they were trying to get him over. And it was always, and then when I finally got to wrestle him, he's like, all right, I think I got 3 of them. He goes, I'll give you 2 or 3. And I'm like, oh, good. I got 2 or 3. You pick. Now, I there's another guy who I got 3 of them. And that's because he isn't doing jack. I do 3 matches. I'm not in the mood to do 1 or 2, so you're getting 3 tonight, and this is what you're doing, and I hate that. That's when that was my turning point where I thought, tell me what I need to know going through the curtain. I'm doing everything in the ring.
Yeah.
And if it happens to look the same, you have muscle memory, and you also have to remember the guy you're wrestling too, what they can and can't do when you feel them out in the first 2 or 3 minutes of the match. If they lock up and they don't know what they're doing out of the lockup, then you just have to go to do what you got to do.
You can feel so much in the lockup.
Absolutely.
As soon as you get that connection on there, it tells you how everything's going to be.
Yeah.
And I was going to say, man, and a lot of promoters, if they just have bodies, man, sometimes they don't care.
Right.
I went to one show, and it was we're all in the locker room, we're all just kind of chit chatting. I was new to that locker room, and there was a guy, he was putting his boots on and stuff, and he asked me how long I'd been working, and I think at the time I said like 6 or 7 years. It was one of those. And I asked him how long he'd been working, and he was like, "Oh yeah, man, this is my second show." And I'm like, "When did you?" And I was like, "How long you been working?" And he was like, "Oh yeah, I just started training 2 weeks ago." And I was like, "Oh, okay." I was like, "Total? Like just here?" And he was like, "No, total."
Total.
And I'm like, "Okay." So I guess I had to watch his match.
Guys, and the only reason we know this is because, believe it or not, we've trained with a large volume of guys over the years.
Over the years, yeah.
So you get a sense. There's guys right now on the independent circuit that look good. They, their matches always look the same. Everyone has the same tights, but you're like, okay, but they're not trained. They're not. So they run with the same group of guys. So if the same group of guys are wrestling each other, you can do that.
I feel like I would get so bored doing that. You know what I mean?
I like a guy who's trained that.
Like if I had the same match every time,
right? I
feel like after the 3rd time, I'd be like, I don't know. Like I just feel like I'd be getting bored of that.
I like talking to a guy and getting I don't go over the match, maybe a move or 2.
Yeah, some key points.
Hey, I do this. Do you know what this is? Do you know how that turns out? I like talking psychology.
Yeah.
Like when a new guy comes, even if I'm not wrestling him, I like to ask him a question or 2 to see where his head's at. And then, and I'll give you a great example. When the Caribbean Tiger came into the PWA, whether guys liked working with him or not, I'll tell you this. When I talked to him in the back, I felt he had some really good psychology. When we were talking about certain situations, he had a decent way of talking about how we could enhance it. Now, talking about it and doing it in the ring are 2 different things, meaning you can come up with a great idea and have great psychology. You need the guys in the ring on the same page to pull it off, because if you don't, then someone's walking out hurt, maybe not physically, but your character takes a ding.
Right.
And that's, once again, that's the difference between if you're doing a program in a company or if you're doing one-offs. If you're doing one-offs for companies and they're just bringing you in once in a while, it doesn't matter what you do.
Yeah.
Because the question is, what do you have for me after this match? Hey, Tony, something's going down tonight. Okay, that's cool. Are you bringing me back or are you killing me tonight? Because that's going to determine what I do.
Right.
And if you want to kill me, fine. Kill me. But I'm going out on my sword. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because you still want to, I get what it is, and I'm not bigger than the sport, but there's a little bit of, integrity you want to keep to the ring.
You have to pick and choose what you do and don't want to do, because you have to be able to say, is this something that makes sense for me?
Yeah.
I'm a large fella,
Mm-hmm.
so for me to get in there with an 80-pound person, if it's not making sense, it's not happening
Right.
because it can just be shut down so quickly.
Absolutely. Is there so talking about the evolution again in indie wrestling, is there a point in your career that, because you definitely hit a different gear at some point in your career,
Mhm.
okay? Can you remember that time that you went, okay, I'm not necessarily at the crossroads, but I got to do something, or this just happened, this has affected me, Bjorn's changing right now.
Yeah. So I think that point for me really hit probably late 2019 to early 2020, probably later 2019. I felt like I wasn't the menace that I wanted to be.
Okay.
I felt that I wasn't living up to what I felt that I could do in the ring. So I had to start pushing myself more. I had to start being more aggressive. I had to start not just yelling out mean things I want to do.
Mhm.
I have to show with my actions. I have to make people know that I'm a threat,
Mm-hmm.
not just say that I'm a threat.
Right.
So I started training more. I started cutting weight. I started trying to incorporate faster moves just so that I could catch people off guard. And when I hit that level and started thinking about it from the point of a competition,
Yeah.
that's when it really switched gears for me, and I felt that it was no longer I'm here to just get a pin. I'm here to compete. I'm here to take this to the next level.
Absolutely. I agree. There's a couple, in my mind, there's a couple times that I felt you switched gears. The first time, I think Rowdy Randy was the champ,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it might have been an April or an October show, maybe 18.
I believe that was October.
Okay, and I thought, man, Bjorn's on cylinder. This is going to be a good match, and I thought you were going to take the title that night, and it didn't happen.
No.
However, I thought that was the first step of, okay, this is what I need to do to hit that next level.
Yeah.
Now, it's interesting you say the end of 2019 going into 2020, because what a lot of people do know about the PWA is that I was released for a while.
Yeah.
And I wasn't around. And my cousin came in.
That was your cousin?
Yeah. We billed him as something else, but he's a relative of mine, distant relative. I keep him at a distance.
Okay.
But I let him come around once in a while. And I gave him some of my gear, and you guys ended up having, I thought, the cage match you had, the last man standing cage match during the pandemic. The reason I felt that was the turning point for Bjorn was you have to know how to work in a cage.
Yeah.
Right.
You have to know how to work in a cage.
How
You
many
have
cage
to know.
matches have you had?
I've had two. I've had one against what I'm now finding out is his cousin. And
'Cause I've had-
the second one was that dastardly Kevin.
I was gonna say it was Kevin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good. Yeah, because I was gonna say, man, I've been in zero. So how is it in there?
I mean, you can't hold anything back when you're in there.
Mhm.
You have to. I mean, when you're throwing someone into the cage, you have to throw them into the cage.
Mhm.
When you are getting your face shoved in that metal,
What'd you call it, Tony? Last
Cheese grade.
cheese grate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You saw me after the last cage match.
That's
I
right,
had
yeah.
my entire forehead was shredded apart. It was just a mess. But you have to be able to work that cage because it is its own weapon.
Mm-hmm.
You are surrounded. You are on the tip of the sword waiting to fall.
Mm.
And if you don't know how to work it well, then you're going to be the first one to fall on that sword.
I agree. And there is a method to a cage match. People think, oh, well, just two guys get in, we'll beat each other around, throw you into the cage. But there's a psychology. There's psychology to working the cage.
There is.
And you had a double duty that night when you fought the U.S. Outlaw. You had last man standing. So not only were you inside a cage, there was no pinfalls.
There was no
submissions. You just had to knock a guy out and hope that he didn't get up at 10.
And no
Yeah.
escape.
And no escape, right?
Yeah.
You're not going out the door. And that was, I want to say, maybe a 15, 18-minute match, because you got to remember it's going to take a while to wear a guy down to where he doesn't want to get up.
Yeah.
Because he's just not going to lay down for you. That was a turning point for me, because in a cage, a lot of guys like to get in there and go right to it.
Yeah.
Let's just start using the cage right now. You wrestled. You had a plan. I'm going to work this. I'm going to work that. I'm going to try to get him in the corner and do the Bjorn drop.
Yeah.
If I can knock him out and not use the cage, why not?
Exactly.
Just because you nail a guy in a cage doesn't mean it's going to be the end-all, be-all.
So
So
karma always comes around and bites
You better believe it.
As soon as you use that cage, it's going to get on you.
absolutely, absolutely. And I do agree that the cage with Kevin, and Kevin is a totally different style, and you've had a series of matches with him.
Yeah.
You took the title from him.
I don't know if you know this. Every piece of gold that Kevin has won, I've been the one to take it from him.
Okay,
I
the
did not
U.S.
know
title, right?
did
The
not-
U.S. title
Okay.
and the World Heavyweight title. Sorry, the heavyweight.
The heavyweight, yeah.
What about tag?
Kevin's never held the tag.
He hasn't?
No, he hasn't.
Ooh.
No.
No, he hasn't.
Mm.
So, and here's a little bit of, I know when you won the title, oh, geez, was that December of,
December of 2021.
okay.
Yeah, December 21.
Because nothing was, you won the title, and I know Randy and I came out.
Yeah.
That wasn't, I mean, we came
And I
out.
got to share the ring with my father.
Yeah, to me, that was a great moment. I'm getting
Absolutely.
goosebumps talking about it. That was a great moment. It was well deserved. I know nowadays everybody has a title, especially in the Indies. For a title to mean something, I think it has to mean something. And when you beat Kevin, that was real.
Yeah.
You know, that was the PWA saying, Bjorn, you're our guy.
I was as soon as that bell rang, I sit up and I'm shedding tears looking out on that crowd, realizing that I just won this.
Yes.
This is the culmination of 4 years
Yeah.
at this point.
Yep.
4 years trying to get to the peak of the mountain.
Yep.
Finally getting my grasp on it.
Every week training, eating crap sandwiches and not complaining about it.
Absolutely.
Putting other guys in front of you, biding your time, and that's what I mean. I know everybody could connect with it. Randy and I really did, and that's why we came out. And then I just happened to be looking around, and your dad was standing up, and it was like it got like time stood still, and everybody parted, and your dad was just standing there. And I'm like, get in here, you have to be in here. Like, this isn't a planned moment.
Yeah.
We're not trying to get a cheap pop. Who cares if everyone left right now? You've got to get in this ring.
Yeah.
That was just a great moment.
Absolutely.
That's what indie wrestling's about, because the fans loved it. They believe it. That they felt it. They shared that with you because it was real.
You can still see that match on the PWA's YouTube.
Yes.
PWA Ohio on YouTube.com.
Absolutely.
You can still see that match, and I remember listening to the commentary after they had finally posted it, and I believe it was Chris Pruitt saying, these people have not moved an inch
Right.
after the bell rang, because it felt like it wasn't just a celebration for me, it was a celebration for us as a organization.
Yes.
Finally getting Kevin and the Only Cruets off our shoulders.
You know, it's funny you say that, isn't it? You don't realize until you're in it or till after you walk out of it, the impact that had. PWA, as Chris calls it, is an episodic adventure.
Mm-hmm.
They're not one-off shows.
Yeah.
It takes a year or two to get through a program sometimes.
Mhm.
The core fans stick. We always get new fans at the big shows. our arena shows used to grow because they're invested.
Yeah.
And I remember, I'm telling you that it was like you were looking around and nobody was getting out of their seat and leaving. We've had a handful of those moments throughout the last 8 years of the PWA. And it's hard to go elsewhere, right, and start at the bottom and work your way up again because you got different guys, you got a different concept and promotion.
Yeah.
And you do have to look over your shoulder and go, do I trust the promoter and the people I'm working with? Because you can always, there's a thing about equity, I think, in a company. Are you hiring me? If you're paying me to do something, I get it. I'll do it.
Yeah.
Let me have a little creative control in it, but I get it. You want me to do this, I'll do it.
You're paying me to do a job.
Yeah. But there's also some aspects where if we're in this together and we're trying to get to a certain point and other roster members you feel aren't doing the time, that's when you got to stay focused on yourself and not focused on them. Who cares what they're doing and what they're not doing? Because at the end of the day, you always have a choice, either work for the promotion or you don't.
Yeah.
And I'm talking, I've been, believe it or not, three or four promotions I've worked for, and either done one match or a couple, and then the majority's been in the PWA. And you get a weird, I've been in a couple other locker rooms, and I'm just like, oh, man. Is, at least you could be somewhat nice and say hi to me. I'm sitting over here and I'm not going to go around. Hey, how you doing? My name's, nice to see you, but clicky, but then you're going to get that everywhere. But going back to that moment when you won the title, that was a great moment. And then the cage match and all your stuff with Dr. Tom, just thought it was a really good thing.
I respect Dr. Tom, but I still have so much disdain for that man.
Well, hopefully we can get you to either have a rematch with Kevin or what Cal was thinking when Cal turned on you in the November event.
Kicking me right in the face, leaving me to take a knee to the face from him and the Caribbean Tiger.
This was my thought process. If you're going to do something, do something. Kicking you in the face, what's that going to do? He should have just grabbed a chair and smacked you.
If he was trying to turn on me, he could have turned on me.
Absolutely. I think
if he was just trying to make me lose the match,
disrespectful.
Yeah, you did it, but
that was just so. And then to come out later with the group
with Kevin himself,
yes,
leaves a bad taste in my mouth that I still can't get out.
So you have a to-do list, Cal and Kevin, and then of course Randy decides he wants to join the crew. It'll be interesting moving forward to see what those guys think they're going to do. And I know at the end of the night, it was the three of us kicking them out of the ring and sending them home, licking their wounds, so to speak. I don't want you licking your wounds. I want you to take a quick break with us, the good, the bad, and the wrestling of Tony James podcast. We're going to come back, and then we're going to get into one last topic with the Nordic Nightmare Bjorn. And, of course, Jimmy Fahrenheit always has insight and opinion. We're going to get his opinion as well. We'll be right back.
Thank you for listening to the good, the bad, and the wrestling Tony James podcast. This is the Nordic Nightmare, the Swedish stud Bjorn. I am here to tell you, keep listening, keep watching, keep paying attention, and keep learning.
Hey, we're back. The good, the bad, and the wrestling of Tony James podcast. Don't forget we're on Spotify, YouTube, and you can check us out at Outlaw Tony James on Facebook. So coming back, a real quick piece of information. It was Vader who ended up hitting Mick Foley and knocking his ear the rest of the way off.
Knocking his ear to the dirt.
Yes.
Yep.
And then, of course, I believe, what year was that?
Oh, jeez.
Just had
early 90s.
I don't know if that was before or after Vader, because I believe I want to say it was.
Because it was in WCW. It wasn't in the E.
So I don't know if Vader's eye popping out was before or after the ear.
I want to say it was after.
Okay. So anyway, you got that going on, and we wanted to clear that up. So talked a little independent wrestling. We talked about the evolution of Bjorn, and now we're going to have a little bit of fun as we work our way out of the Lariato Ranch here. So I got a question we're going to discuss. events in pro wrestling from 2010 to present. So the last 13 years. Can you think of any events? Now, an event could be a match, a promo, anything that had a positive impact on pro wrestling. Okay, 2010. I know I'm an old guy, and I'm always talking old school, so I wanted to be more relevant. So I thought 2010 to 2023, to as of today, anything going on that you guys feel had a huge positive impact that was a good thing for pro wrestling. Can you think of anything? Because I've got, let's see here, I have about 8 items.
Okay, I've also got about 8.
Oh, go ahead, Bjorn. What do you got?
All right, so I think 2 of these can probably fit in together. I think that one of the better things, we'll put these 2 together. Chris Jericho working with New Japan, WWE, and AEW opening. I think those are 2 linked things that were definitely good for the wrestling society as a whole.
I definitely agree with the Jericho and New Japan.
Okay.
Oh my gosh. That was another moment in time where I was totally sucked into New Japan and
Absolutely.
waiting to see how they were going to, what and how they were going to do. Jimmy, what do you think about those 2 there?
I was going to say absolutely. And because what I was going to actually say later on, mine is more of a little bit of a moment when Cody Rhodes made his re-debut in the WWE at WrestleMania.
Ooh.
That wouldn't have happened without AEW.
Yeah,
you know
you're
what I'm
right.
saying? So it all just, because if he would have never left and did his own thing and built himself up as the American Nightmare, the grandson of a plumber.
There you go.
Him coming out, I was just like, oh, this is going to be sweet. You know what I mean? And without AEW, we wouldn't have had that moment.
Yep.
I like both of them.
That was actually another one of my
Oh, was it?
Cody Rhodes
WrestleMania?
WWE.
Nice. Jimmy, what do you have?
I was going to say, besides that one, I just like, I don't know, I guess I'm a big sucker for nostalgia too. Like when, I can't remember what WrestleMania it was, but when the Hardy Boys made their comeback at WrestleMania, just that.
Do you know what year that was?
What year is that? I want to say it was 18 or 19.
It might have been 19. I think it was 19.
Oh yeah.
I remember that. It was in the ladder match.
He was doing the delete or something, right?
Yeah, he was the broken.
Yes,
broken Matt Hardy, and nobody. I don't think anybody knew it was coming because I guess they had been released from TNA. And they had just did a show the night before for Ring of Honor.
Dropped the Ring of Honor titles to the Young Bucks.
It was like 10 hours ago or something like that. And everybody's like, they're not going to show up at WrestleMania.
I remember sitting in a living room and jumping up, popping as loud as I could, chicken wing sauce all over my fingers. Because
I did think it was going to be the New Day. Because they were the hosts of WrestleMania.
Yeah, yes.
And they came out there like, we got one more team. You know what I mean? And they start walking to the ring. I'm like, okay, it's going to be the New Day. That's cool. I like the New Day. And then you heard the Team Extreme music, and I'm like, no way. And
you start banging your head.
Just freaking out. Bust out my little Hardy Boys necklace. Let's go.
Get those cut-up socks, put them on your arms.
Nice.
Get the track pants on.
I'm going to go with, I had something similar to your New Japan. In 2019, Jericho Okada, that match, to me, it goes with Jericho going to New Japan, but that match itself, I thought reestablished Jericho as an in-ring presence because it wasn't overproduced WWE stuff. It was him just going and wrestling and showing you can have a very long match and it not feel like it. I mean, that match was awesome, and he went on to have 2 or 3 more of those. If I had an AEW presence on this list, it is the 2019 Double or Nothing Rhodes versus Rhodes match.
Oh, yeah.
That match, to me, embodies pro wrestling.
Yes.
Yeah.
The promos, the in-ring work, everything made sense, and the psychology was beautiful. It's just an awesome match.
No, it is. Yeah, it's real good.
Absolutely.
And I think I may have said this before. I got hooked, and I thought if AEW is going to do this, I am a fan.
Yeah.
The heck with WWE. And then it just kind of took its. You know what I'm saying? They gave it to you.
They hooked you, Tony.
It's almost like
They gave you an Olympic-sized swimming pool. You thought you were diving in the deep end, and then you hit the 3 foot.
you're promoting a show,
The 3 foot.
and your first match comes out and does the roads, and the rest of the show can't keep up,
Yeah.
and so you're done. I felt that match set the tone. Now there was a couple of cool things, the Pentagon Junior and Jericho stuff,
Yeah.
and there's some other things, but in my opinion, because didn't they come out guys in condoms and stuff after that?
Yeah,
Just a bunch
yeah.
of weird
And it's like
the Druids.
you
had.
you freaking had this classic, and you promoted and branded that AEW. That is what we're doing,
Yeah.
and we're going to take indie wrestling to the next level. And then
This is a sports league. We are
Yes.
changing how it's done.
But that was a positive. I thought the Rhodes and then the Jericho Okada match was definitely. You got another one?
So I've got a couple feuds that I want to put in there.
Ooh, okay.
But before I get to the feuds, I'll just throw these two in there. These are two things that I think were better for the wrestling community as a whole. One is more wrestling streaming apps.
Oh, nice choice.
Yeah, that's good.
I think that that's something that has
That's thinking outside the
given
box.
so many more people different platforms, Fight TV, those different things where you can access actual indie shows
Yep.
and watch guys wrestle.
Yes.
I think that that's been great for
I totally
for
agree.
the wrestling industry.
You have to promote yourself, and you have to do what you have to do.
Absolutely.
Even if, let's say, you only have 5 or 6 matches and no one's booking you, you can repackage different spots out of if you have footage of it,
Yeah.
and release it and try to get people to latch onto your brand. That's a good one.
And if it's on that site, you know it's going to be high quality.
Absolutely.
footage, too.
Yes, I like that. That's a good one.
The next thing that I've got is the NXT Black and Gold brand opening.
Okay, Black and Gold, what are we talking?
I'm talking not the game show. I'm talking back when Sami Zayn was the champion. Kevin Owens coming in there.
So you just mean when NXT was its actual third brand?
So
Yeah,
are you
when-
talking,
He's not talking the game show where it was goofy, funny stuff.
but you're talking what, 2010 to 2014?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that was great for the wrestling industry
Yeah.
because that was when
Dusty Rhodes was still involved.
yeah.
in it. Okay.
WWE was bringing these smaller guys, these smaller both in size, both in name, into there, putting their efforts, their psychology, their money, their backing behind them, and giving them that presentation of these are going to be stars.
Mm-hmm.
I think that definitely changed how it looks because there's been a long-term hated quote of vanilla midgets and how the biggest companies are the land of the giants.
Yes. Yeah, we've talked about that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that when WWE opened that as a brand,
It's like they were
wrestling,
saying we're okay with it now.
exactly. They were letting everyone know you can come in and have a shot.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hey, I actually, we talked about this earlier. My favorite is the 2015-2017 NXT roster.
Yeah.
That's Finn Balor.
Yeah.
His London match when he came out as Jack the Ripper. His Texas match. I might have a picture somewhere in my studio here. I know I have one out in the weight room. When he came out as the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah.
The Demon. And then you had Samoa Joe, you had Shinsuke, you had the Revival.
I loved Samoa Joe in NXT, and the Revival is just one of the best.
And who's the team? Was it Gargano and is it Ciampa?
Gargano and Ciampa, DIY.
Yeah.
That whole feud, tag team feud, they made you forget. Let me rephrase that. Wrestling's real. When I watched that feud, that won best 2 out of 3. Oh my gosh! I just goosebumps.
Right.
That's a goosebump match.
And I was going to say you had Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens,
Yes.
Robbie Roode.
Oh yes, glorious.
Glorious.
And that's when people were getting frustrated. As soon as they went to the next level in the main roster, they were tanking.
Yeah.
How you don't tank?
Enzo and Cass.
Yes.
Yeah.
I remember seeing them at the Arnold,
Oh, yeah.
And my favorite guy was the dude in the single strap with the handlebar mustache.
Simon Grant.
Yes,
Oh my God.
we saw him at the Arnold.
Yep.
And I had my family with me.
Because that's
He's
when,
such a good technical.
And they're like, we love that, just his presence.
I was going to say that was the same Arnold where they had Sasha Banks there.
Yes. Hogan did a cameo
Yeah.
during break.
Yep, I think he talked. I think that's when Cesaro was actually taking a small. Wasn't he in NXT for a small?
Right
break?
there.
Yeah, he was.
Cesaro? Yeah.
Cesaro had William Regal's last in-ring match.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if you've ever gotten to watch it, but it's a great match. There's probably the first maybe 7 to 8 minutes of it. No punches thrown. It is all just classic, just chain wrestling.
That reminds me of the two guys here recently in the past year or two on NXT where they didn't have knee pads, just tights and boots. They both looked the same, and it was more of a British style.
I can't,
You know what I'm talking about, though, don't you? It was.
So one guy I'm thinking of is Timothy Thatcher.
Yes.
I love Timothy Thatcher.
But I didn't have Timmy in his all-day sucker.
I didn't have him in mine either, but we'll give him an honorable mention.
Okay, honorable mention there.
Timothy Thatcher, honorable mention.
I was going to say I had one more from 2010 moment.
Okay, go.
Quote me if I'm wrong, but I think it's WrestleMania 30.
Okay.
And it was Daniel Bryan winning all the belts.
Okay.
And that's the same night Undertaker, the streak was broke.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
I think that's WrestleMania 30, right?
Well, it might have been. I'm going to give you a 2010.
Mm-hmm.
I can watch this segment over and over again. I watched it 5 times yesterday.
You know what it was?
Gosh.
It was Shawn Michaels retiring.
TNA segment.
Okay.
The woo-off between Jay Lethal and Ric Flair.
Oh.
That to me, and so I did a little deep dive. Jay Lethal last year did an interview on that. That whole thing was not scripted. It was all spontaneous.
Really?
He was told in the back, hey, you're doing a segment with Ric Flair. He likes working with you. But you got to go talk to him because Rick won't let us write anything.
That's fair.
So he goes and says, hey, we're working. Yeah, we're working tonight. Well, what do you want to do? And Rick slapped him on the back and said, see you out there, kid. And walked out of his own dressing room and left Jay Lethal standing there. So Jay Lethal's in the position to go out. Someone asked him, why are you so nervous? Just do what you do. You do Ric Flair impersonations in the back. Go do it out front.
Yeah.
And it calmed him down a bit. That everything you see, all on the spot. And the only thing I don't like about that spot is when the bald dude with the glasses he takes the mic from Ric Flair. And he goes, I'm trying to make my name. Get your ghetto booty in here so I can kick it. And he totally killed the vibe that was going on between Rick. And then Jay totally pulls out of it and goes, you can't handle Chelsea. You're certainly not going to be handling me. She's had the old man. She wants me. I'm a 60-minute man. But the way he starts that segment off with, you're not the Horseman. It looks like the Horseman took a dump in the ring and left that. And just to see Ric Flair going, oh, yeah. And then he goes, mirror, mirror on the wall. Who's the fairest of them all? Watch you, Nature Boy. That whole thing, to me, was classic. You just didn't get promos like that. And Jay Lethal's awesome anyway, I think.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's my 2010 TNA. You got anything else?
3 feuds.
All right.
Omega and Okada.
Yes.
CM Punk and MJF.
Okay.
Did you get to see any of it?
I like MJF, but I'm not a big old fan of CM.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of either, so.
Why do you like MJF?
I like MJF. You might not like my top 10.
He's gonna hate your top 10.
I hate my top 10. That's okay. We can't get along about everything.
Please
That's
don't
all
bait
right.
me like that. Don't bait me like that.
But I think the promo and the match work on those two feud. Well, the MJF and the CM Punk one, the promos, the match work. I think they speak for himself. Please watch it before you make that face to me.
Okay.
Third feud, Briscoes versus FTR.
Ooh.
And I want to parenthesis that around FTR's 2022 year, the 3 belt run that they had. That is something that I mean, I guess you can say you've seen it because Kenny Omega had the belt collector gimmick for a little while, but I have not seen the professionalism, the seriousness, when you saw them with those 3 belts, you knew they earned those 3 belts. It's because they were the best in the ring, the best minds, the best work. They earned those belts.
Mm-hmm.
That's something that I haven't seen happen
I agree.
in wrestling in a long time.
That goes back to making the belts mean something.
Right.
Exactly.
Well, those are good. I'm sticking with a promo segment.
Okay.
2018. The Festival of Friendship.
Ooh.
Jericho and Owens. Vintage Jericho.
I'm not gonna lie, man. That almost made me cry
That was
because I was sad.
That was really good.
Like when he turns.
that was better than the WrestleMania
When
match.
he turns it around and he's like, "Why is my name on it?"
Yes.
I'm like, no, bro, stop.
I don't like. I'm not.
Did you see the list of KO on the bottom
Yeah,
of the
because he pulls it out.
Yes.
He's like, it's a new list.
And what I'm not a fan of the current segments and talk shows and people. If I watch Raw or SmackDown, just show me matches. Please don't give anyone a microphone. I'm not interested. And this goes clear back to this, which was 18. But you knew when Jericho came out, he was on a roll and he was going to do something.
Yeah.
And that goes back to his feud with Okada to be able to go to Japan and do a whole different take on who he is.
I've definitely heard more Chris Jericho appreciation from you than I expected.
I'm a Jericho fan.
Oh, yeah, man.
Okay.
I'm a Jericho-holic.
I didn't know
Absolutely.
Dude, you got that shirt?
I do. I went on a binge. I went on a binge from 18 to the bubbly.
that. Okay.
And he had it. I don't think he does this anymore, but he has a nonprofit diabetes program.
Oh.
And every so often, between 18 and I'm going to say maybe right before the pandemic, he always had a shirt he made, and he would sell. And it was a limited time.
Mm-hmm.
I got every one.
Nice.
Oh, okay.
I've shown them to you.
Yeah, I was
they're
gonna say,
they're
I wanna see
awesome.
these
They're
shirts.
awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm a huge. Now, do I watch a lot of his stuff now? No. But I will get Fozzy anytime they put out a new album.
Yeah.
He's got some great stuff. So yeah, the Festival of Friendship, I'm definitely going with. What do you say, Fahrenheit? Do you have anything else?
As far as like big moments, no, I think that was I think that's all I had.
Okay. I've got a couple more, Bjorn.
I don't have them on the list, but I'm sure I can go. for
Okay,
it.
well, I'm going to give you a couple of mine here.
Okay.
Balor in 2016 winning the Universal title.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
The shoulder injury.
But see,
Yeah.
that whole thing just makes me sad afterwards.
Oh,
Like,
well, that to me, he was done after that, right?
yeah, like, so yeah, because don't get me wrong, I was right there with you as soon as
Yes.
it happened, and then the very next night, I'm like, great.
The thinking of it, I was set for a title run.
I was
Yeah.
already
I was locked in and dug in like I know where I'm going to be every freaking Monday night.
right. I was
He's
like,
gonna-
babe,
he's
I'm
gonna
coming
win
home
this.
every Monday night at 8:00.
Finn Balor. Yeah,
If he's
Let's
going to
go.
win this, it's going to have to be a long run.
Yep.
Permitted.
I'm a grown man,
Goes for it.
but I'm buying merch.
Yeah.
Oh, baby, you ready? to
Because
go?
the Demon, they had built him up like he doesn't lose.
Yeah.
And I knew it was coming, but just his makeup, and that goes clear back to his indie days, right? But
Yeah.
I thought that. Now, 2021 WrestleMania 36, the pandemic WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Sure.
Charlotte Flair, Rhea Ripley.
Ooh, that's a good one.
That was wrestling.
I'm trying to think.
Do you
It was
remember?
before
No.
Rhea went to the dark place.
Yeah.
Is that where she's wearing Rhea Ripley? Is that where she's wearing the blue and white?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Because I was like, I'm pretty sure I know what.
I'm
Where
gonna-
every time she worked her leg, it sounded like she was breaking Rhea's legs.
Oh, yeah.
I'm telling you right now, and Chris and I got into this. Charlotte Flair, I wanted Charlotte Flair to win the World Heavyweight title.
Oh, so
I
you
always
wanted-
thought Charlotte would be the first woman to bridge the gap because she's legit. Tessa Blanchard did it
I
in
was just about
TNA.
to mention.
Was it Eddie Edwards? Was an who'd she beat?
So she was with Eddie Edwards for a while. I want to say it was Sammy Callahan.
Oh, maybe it was. I'm
the
sorry,
title.
Sammy Callahan. And if I did mess that up, previously,
I
I'm
think
sorry.
she worked her way through Edwards to get to Callahan.
Okay.
And they kind of paired against him.
Tessa Blanchard. I like Tessa
Great
Blanchard,
worker.
right? But that Charlotte Flair Rhea Ripley match, in my opinion, stole the show.
Mm-hmm.
That just to me, that was the first time I felt a female worked at her speed. I always feel like when she wrestles, she has to slow down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And nothing wrong with that, but you can just tell. But when she is on, that's why I think she could be, like, I think if you put her against Seth Rollins, you're going to get a good match.
Oh, yeah.
I don't see her as gender in that match. I just don't.
No, I get you.
And I'm an old dude now. You know what I'm saying? I've been through stuff. I've lived through the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, and I'm still here. So I've seen equity and all that go good and bad.
Yeah.
I'm for it. That's just me. My last one, and now I am pulling the nostalgia card on this one.
Okay.
And you're probably going to think it's the Flair thing, but it's not. 2023, Ricky Steamboat makes his in-return ring. Ring return, I'm sorry. And he tags with FTR. If you haven't seen that match, there's this guy who usually does, he goes to landmarks, like he went to Lemmy's apartment, he goes to Graceland. He's a wrestling fan too, and he went to this match and he did a review and videotaped the match. It's on, I forget the gentleman's name. He does a great job of the production of it. Ricky Steamboat still has it, and I'm not talking old guy has it. Deep arm drag, knew his play. You have FTR in a 6-man as your team.
Yeah.
He let them do their thing. He got in with great psychology. Awesome match. And I think it was Jay Lethal, Jarrett, and I can't remember who the third guy was on their team. There's a consistent pattern, Jay Lethal being in these matches, right?
Yeah.
There's a reason for that.
Because
You know what I'm saying?
He can work with these people.
I saw him live in October, in Columbus. I want to say 19 maybe. The guy can work. I'm just saying the guy can work. Anyway.
Speaking of Jay Lethal, I'm going to throw a wrestler that I enjoy. I wish he had a little more personality, but his in-ring work is great. The feud between Jay Lethal and Jonathan Gresham from 2020 over the Pure title in Ring of Honor.
So I've heard a lot of negative about. Is Jonathan Gresham the guy that quit because he was supposed to come out and drop something and got pissed off? And
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, I don't know him personally. I don't know much of, like...
And I don't know we don't know what really happened. And people can say they do. But
people can say what they want.
we've had crap said about us that's not true. So
yeah, he is a...
And you know who you are that said it, and we're coming for you.
We're coming for you, Kevin.
Sorry about that, Bjorn. Go ahead.
Jonathan Gresham, great in-ring worker. His whole stretch of having the Pure title in Ring of Honor during the pandemic was great because it brought back the Pure rules. It led to more grappling-based matches. It really let the people who knew how to work shine during a time when they couldn't have crowds. You couldn't have those people that were catchphrases, big moves, and stuff. To make a crowd
you had to wrestle.
You had to wrestle. You had to have the people that could go in there and work with each other, actually get things done and hold a story and hold the attention. And I think that he held it great through there, but he just hasn't really been able to sustain at that top level. One of the best matches I've seen in person was actually Jonathan Gresham versus Ultimo Guerrero.
Okay.
It was when I had been working as an extra at Ring of Honor. That was one of the best technical matches I've seen.
Well, I'm going to tell you, and you guys know because you worked through the pandemic. Not a lot of people did. It's tough. You learn how to work.
Yeah.
When there's no crowd. Now, there's a difference between wrestling in front of 5 people and 0 people.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And we've all done it. It's a great opportunity, and even though I was released at that point, I remember telling guys, hey, if you're going to be doing this, work on your skill. You can still get over and you can still show people your quality in the ring because they still got to watch your stuff on, I like watching. There's a couple companies that do that still to this day where they'll put matches on, no crowd, and you watch the match and you're like, hey, this is good.
Yeah.
That takes me back to the comment where a lot of guys are saying the best match ever is Hogan Rock unless you turn the volume down. That makes no sense to me. It still to this day irritates the living heck out of me because you show me your greatest match and turn the volume down. Well, it's the crowd that makes the match. Oh, well, make up your mind.
Yeah.
Hogan Rock is Hogan Rock, whether it's up, whether the volume's up or down. Okay?
Yeah.
In my opinion. Hogan Andre's the same way. Rhodes versus Rhodes. Any match that we mentioned here, right? If you take the crowd's reaction out of the festival, Friendship Festival, you're still popping at home.
Yeah.
Watching it. The woo-off doesn't need the crowd because you have the guys. So that's just my opinion. I'm bebopping and scatting there. But so if you have a chance, go back and check out these events and don't be afraid to leave if you're able to. Don't be afraid to leave a comment in one of those mediums, whether it be Spotify, Facebook, or YouTube. If you think you have some events that have happened between 2010 and the current time that you feel should make that list, and this isn't a good or bad list, it's just three guys sitting around talking.
Tell us why we're wrong.
That's right. So one last thing before we get out of here today. The Trios Championship in AEW, they are not champions until they defend them against us.
I'm here for it.
I'm telling you right now, let's form a grassroots movement. Bjorn, Fahrenheit, and James, we need to take on the Trio, whoever they are. It doesn't matter who has the belts right now. Who has the belts right now?
Right now, it's Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks, but potentially after this weekend, it's going to be the House of Black. So if I got to square off against Brody King, I'm all for it.
Let's do it. Spread the word. Take it to the streets. Trios Challenge, AEW, Bjorn, the Nordic Nightmare, the man from the center of the earth, Jimmy Fahrenheit, and the outlaw Tony James here at the Good, the Bad, and the Wrestling, a Tony James podcast. Bjorn, where can we find you? Do you have anything on social media?
You can find me on Instagram, Long Live Bjorn with the underscores. Jimmy Fahrenheit, where can we find you on social media?
Gosh, you can find me on Instagram at Mr.Fahrenheit200 or over on Facebook at Jimmy Fahrenheit.
Hey, check these guys out. Book these guys. Hit follow, click, subscribe. You can hit us up here at the Good, the Bad, and the Wrestling and Tony James podcast on Spotify, YouTube. Check out Outlaw Tony James on Facebook. Hey, you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. I want to thank everybody for showing up today. And just remember, God is good. Have a great day and be kind to each other.